So the style collaboration I'm about to share with you blows my mind. Not because of how bad it is, but the media team that came up with this idea actually won an award. The brand collaboration I'm talking about is between Crocs and KFC. Yes, there was a line of Crocs with KFC's iconic bucket design with scented fried chicken charms. Now apparently this thing was a viral hit.
KFC X Crocs Bucket Clog.
Interesting choice.
But for the guys that paid full price to wear this monstrosity, I have a feeling they regretted that purchase after receiving the product and realized, yeah, I bought a novelty and this can only be worn as a joke.
You serious?
All right, so I admit that collaboration is a bit extreme. So let's talk about one I bet a lot of you guys heard about and maybe even considered. So a few years back, the executives over at Omega and Swatch started talking about, hey, could we do something together? As many of you guys know, both of these companies, Swiss watchmakers, but with very different styles. Swatch, founded in 1983 during the quartz crisis, is all about youth, is all about fun and bright colors. Omega, on the other hand, founded in 1848, is much more about precision, heritage, history, and exploration, working with NASA in 1969 for the Apollo 11 mission that sent a watch to the moon. Now, that watch was the Omega Speedmaster. Well, in 2022, Omega and Swatch got together and created the Moon Swatch. Now, this watch got a lot of hype, was very difficult to get. 11 different colors were released, and to this day, they're difficult to find. So why am I putting this sought-after watch on a list of things that people regret buying? So most likely, if you got this watch, you paid above retail. You also had lofty expectations because it's an Omega Speedmaster. Unfortunately, what a lot of people found out, it was made more to Swatch's standards, and for the amount they paid, a lot of guys realized they bought into hype and they really didn't get the quality watch they were expecting. And gents, let me be clear, I'm not crapping on this watch. If you've got it and you love it, all the more power to you. My point here is to be careful of brand collaborations. Louis Vuitton and Supreme, Alexander Wang and H&M, Star Wars and Legos, Doritos and Taco Bell. Seriously though, Doritos and Taco Bell, that one worked because you were able to get it. But all those other collabs, they led to huge hype, they sold out the limited merchandise, and a lot of people end up buying on the secondary market and paying way above retail. Seriously, the Lego Star Wars, I love it, but I've paid double for a set around Christmas time because my son really wanted one. The reality is these collaborations can be cool, but they're oftentimes overpriced. Next up on this list, clothing that doesn't do its frickin' job. When you buy a sweater, if you want it to keep you warm, look at the material. You want to go with wool, merino wool, or if you're looking for something really soft, look for a sweater that has cashmere. The properties of these fibers are going to do a better job of insulating and keeping the heat in. If you want a summer jacket, one that's going to be breathable, you want to look for a jacket that has linen in it. Now understand, it doesn't have to be 100% linen, it can be a linen cotton blend, but the shape of those fibers are going to allow air to pass in and out. In addition, look at the structure of a jacket. An unlined jacket simply uses less material and is therefore going to be more breathable. The only downside, and why you don't see them more often, is because it costs more. To make an unlined jacket, you got to make sure the inside of the jacket looks good because you can't hide it with a full lining. Another piece of clothing that a lot of times isn't doing its job, the collared shirt. So here's the deal. The purpose of the shirt collar is to frame the face. A shirt collar that's flimsy, one that falls to the side, one that gets stuck underneath the jacket lapels, that is a shirt collar that's not doing his job and as such isn't making you look as good as a properly shaped collar would. And let's face it, gents, a lot of us aren't wearing neckties on a daily basis. So we wear a dress shirt and that weak collar with a weak front placket, guess what? It just falls all over the place. It looks weak. It doesn't give you that elevated, elegant look that you're shooting for. Now, gents, if you want to solve your collar problem without having to go out and buy a whole new collection of shirts, you need to check out today's sponsor, Slick Collar. Gents, for years, I've talked about Slick Collar because I love what these guys do. They take your existing shirts and with this one simple device, whether it's a polo, whether it's a button down, whether it's a dress shirt, all of a sudden you get a structured collar that makes you look good. And the best part is once you put in the Slick Collar, you don't even know it's there. Now, gents, when you receive your Slick Collar package, what you're going to find inside are 3 Slick Collars.
The Slick Collar, regular size, your go-to for flawless collars on all your favorite shirts. The new Slick Collar, athletic size, designed specifically for larger necks and wider collars. The Slick Collar slim size, perfect for polos and those slim fit dress shirts.
And 10 collar stays. Now, if you're not familiar with collar stays, these fit into into the collar point, and I love how Slick Collar provides these to you so that you can ensure that your collar is looking good.
And as a bonus, they are packaged in the popular everyday carry storage box.
And don't worry about sizing, whether you have a 14-inch neck or a 24-inch neck. With Slick Collar, you can adjust the size to fit. So gents, if you're tired of dealing with the floppy collar, you don't want to go out there and buy new shirts, but you want to improve your existing wardrobe, use the link in the description of today's video to get the best deal on the web when it comes to Slick Collar. So this next mistake is one I made personally. Now, looking at this watch right here, a lot of you guys can immediately tell what it is. But some of you guys may say, all right, Antonio, what? I didn't know you had that Rolex. I've never seen that Rolex. But for those of you guys that know watches, you're like, Antonio, those are completely fake. Yes, when I was traveling throughout China back in 2007, I think it was, I went into one of those back rooms and they sold me a whole bunch of fake Rolexes, among other brands, just watches I thought looked cool and they worked. And at that point, I was a student. I definitely could not afford those type of watches, but I'm like, you know, maybe I'll wear it with my suit. You know, I'll fake it till I make it. Now, gents, don't buy into it. I'll tell you straight up that owning a fake watch is, it just feels weird. You are always worried when you're wearing something like that, that somebody that's in the know is actually going to notice. Yeah, it's funny. I spent like $500 on 5 watches and it felt so weird. I never put it on again. And I have to say that I really do regret buying a fake watch. Now, what about homage, however you say that word? These are watches that look like perhaps a Rolex, but they've got a different name on them. Like, let's say, take my L'Oreal right here. Obviously, this watch looks like a Submariner. I personally think that this is fine because it's clearly not a Rolex. It doesn't try to be a Rolex. It's got a different brand name on it. And that's the key. It's not trying to be something it's not. It simply stole the design. Yes, it used cheaper materials, both on the outside and the inside. But yeah, if you want to own something higher end, something luxury, my advice is to save up for it, maybe learn a lot about the industry, maybe fall in love with something else that's at a much more affordable price, but never buy fake. Now, what about that jacket that's a little bit tight, but hey, you're going to lose that 10 pounds over the summer? Is that a smart buy? In general, I find that this is a purchase most people regret because they're buying it for an ideal body, not the body they have. And that's the key, gents. Yes, you may lose that weight, but more likely than not, life is going to get in the way. You're going to stay stable at where you're at, maybe gain it. I mean, you can go either direction here. And again, gents, I admit I have fallen into this trap, especially in my younger years, when I'd walk into a store, go right back to the discount rack and say, wow, this is 90% off. It's a little bit too big for me, but man, what if I got it adjusted? And I admit, sometimes you can take something to get adjusted. The reality is something you spend 20 bucks on, which normally retails for 100, what's the chances you're going to take that into a tailor to get it adjusted? I know some of you guys will, and more power to you, but the majority of people, you're just not going to get around to it, and you'll end up just have wasted the money that you could have saved for something else. So when you're buying clothing, buy it for the body you have, unless you know you can make a small tweak to be able to get it to fit you properly. By the way, I was assuming there that you buy clothing that actually fits your body. And there's a difference between fit and the silhouette or the cut, the style, because let's talk about skinny jeans. Let's talk about extreme loose jeans. We're seeing the extreme baggy start to come back. Anything that has an extreme in it, you want to be careful with. I find that there's a lot of regret with guys whenever they go with something. Yeah, skinny jeans were in fashion 5 years ago, 8 years ago. They now, you know, they've made way for the loose fit. But you know, the guys that seem to be the happiest, guys that understand what looks good on their body type, on their build, and they stick with that. Because when something's in fashion, you're usually going to see it trickle down into all the box stores. It's going to be more readily available, and you may find as a skinnier guy, hey, it's easier to pick up this baggy clothing. But for your body build, it's never going to work for you. It was the same thing for bigger guys 10 years ago when skinny jeans were all the rage. Yes, you could find them in larger sizes, but they were still skinny jeans on a big guy, and just that never looks good. No, again, dress for the body you have. Look at your body type and buy clothing that complements your build. All right, so now let's talk about cheap clothing. In particular, let's talk about cheap shoes and cheap suits. Now, over the last year, I've talked about cheap clothing and how you can actually dress it up, make it look a bit more expensive. And the reason I put together those videos is I know some of you guys are on a super limited budget. However, as you start to make more money, I am going to recommend that you look to start purchasing quality when it comes to the cornerstone pieces in your wardrobe. By cornerstone, I mean foundational. These are going to be the pieces that everything else builds upon. The reality, gents, is quality in clothing manufacturing matters. From the material that they use to the way that they stitch, glue, tack the material together, all of this plays not only in comfort and longevity, but also in drape and simply the way the clothing looks. So I'm not going to say that you have to buy expensive shoes or expensive suits, but I will share with you my style theory of value. Simply put, it's the number of wears times the way it makes you feel divided by price. I always think that's a better way of thinking of the value of something, because if you're only going to wear a suit, let's say once every couple years, yeah, I can see where you're not going to spend a whole lot of money on it. But if you wear a suit on a daily basis, this is your uniform. You want to spend good money for something that's going to serve you well, make you feel like $1,000,000, and hopefully help you earn more. In the same way a carpenter or electrician would spend good money on his tools, on his truck, for a man in sales or for a man that's customer facing, it's important you look the part of a success. Another area that I try to avoid, tech-heavy clothing and accessories. So I know for me personally, I regret buying the Apple Watch. When I read the features, I thought I was going to use the heck out of it. Then I realized that battery only lasts like 24 hours. So for me, all of a sudden it became impractical for lightweight travel. And it just seemed to have so many glitches. Nowadays, the only thing I use this watch for is when I go for a run, just being able to track my mileage. Now don't get me wrong, I'm all about tech, I'm all about innovation. But when I look at the collaboration with Meta and Ray-Ban, those sunglasses, I think that's interesting, but I want to wait till that tech is really reached its apex point. And what I mean by that is any innovation is going to be tiny. Computers are kind of at that point, but even a better example, mechanical watches. Yeah, I mean, companies like Grand Seiko are innovating still in mechanical watches, but for the rest of the world, we've pretty much reached the top. So you can buy a mechanical watch and know 10 years, it's not going to be out of date. All right, Jen, so what would you have added to this list? Let me know in the comments below. And what video is next? Come on, check it out right here. Boom. Here you go, gents. Click. Yes, go check it out. Solid video. Come on, you know you want to watch it.